If into the security recordings you go, only pain you will find. Which is exactly where we're going today. If you click into each of the Star Wars films on Disney Plus, in the extras section, you will find a gold mine of deleted scenes. So today we're going to go through some of them. I'm going to show you the ridiculousness, and make sure you stick around until the end for the alternate duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan with an alternate ending. Hey everyone, it's Andrew. All right, you guys have probably already seen this one. One of the most common deleted scenes. Anakin stabs Shark T in the Jedi Temple during Order 66. But then afterwards, he's walking through the Jedi Temple as a bunch of Jedi are slaughtered by clones. Wait, but how does this scene even make sense? Why is Shark T sitting with her eyes closed, meditating, as the clones brutally slaughter her fellow Jedi outside? There could be younglings out here. And meanwhile, she's just having a little nap in here. Here, take it easy, relax. Listen to the sounds and the ambience of the children screaming in the background. Wait, what? What, she couldn't sense a disturbance in the Force? Didn't hear the ancient temple statue crashing down outside? Best Jedi, Shark T. Palpatine straight up changing the Constitution and taking control of the Jedi Council for the sake of security. Look at that cheeky smile. He knows what he's doing. He's behind the scenes. Anakin, I have raised you since a young boy. You've come to me for advice. And now I'm going to take your power and crush everyone. It's the Palpatine way.
In the name of security.
Episode 3 was originally supposed to be a comedy. Anakin's got a broken cell phone. Little reference there. Perhaps the game was referencing this deleted scene. Who knows? And then Anakin's having some kind of seizure.
I'm pretty sure that beep is down. Oh, yes, you're right. Beep is up.
George, what were you thinking? And then it's all like...
Destroyers.
Little reference to the Phantom Menace.
Master, destroyers.
And then Obi-Wan's literally half smiling when he says...
Never an elevator when you need one.
Okay, so they make it into the elevator, they're safe, and then they turn around, pretend to slice up a few battle droids. This actually made the film, this scene, this shot. And Obi-Wan's putting away his lightsaber like he's never held a lightsaber in his life. This is the most awkward. What is he doing? How is he holding this thing? He's gonna stab himself. What, bro? And then they make a Roger joke.
Roger.
Oh. And then they're faced with an army of battle droids. Bad idea. So it seems as though in Revenge of the Sith, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Palpatine were originally going to escape General Grievous' ship through the hangar. They take a look and see all the destroyed ships and are like, yeah, nah, we ain't going that way. Master Skywalker, what are we going to do? And then the ship turns upside down on its side and everyone freaks out. And then R2-D2 is hanging on for dear life using his scomp-link, just plugged into the wall. Battle droids getting obliterated in the ray shields. Just, oh god. R2 still hanging on for dear life, man. Hang in there until Anakin distracts him and he falls to his death. Seriously, should be completely flattened after this. I like how they'll, just no worries. The battle droids that are down there will cushion his fall. Hello, they're made of metal. No, mate. No, he's dead. R2 is no more. R2 died in Revenge of the Sith if this was included. And then Palpatine slips, being clumsy, he's, channeling Jar Jar here, and is hanging on for dear life. Dude. The acting pulled off by Palpatine here is unbelievable. This guy is the Sith Lord behind everything, and he's having to make a buffoon of himself and pretend he's about to die. No wonder the Jedi couldn't sense anything. The man should win an Oscar for this. Obi-Wan's then swinging with the green screen, and then this part is basically a rip-off of the Battle of Endor. R2, get over here. Only reason we keep you around is for you to open the doors, so you can get us in. Same scene. Even though we're Jedi and we can literally force pull anything we like. Just, open the door like you did on Kamino, mate. What, you forgot that now? Dumb Jedi.
That was close.
I swear Shark T is the most expressionless Jedi ever.
I'm sorry, Master Kenobi. I failed.
Why not say it like you mean it? You're just so stone-faced. It's like you're about to be killed.
Stinking Jedi.
I feel like Anakin and Obi-Wan should be more upset about this. They should be more shocked, They go from this to literally finishing each other's sentences.
That was a bad
Mistake.
What is this, a romantic comedy? They even start doing weird touching themselves. What? after this very, very awkward encounter, they cut a hole into the floor and go for a swim. And this, if you remember, is actually a section that was included in the Revenge of the Sith game. If anyone played that back in the day, hello, my homies. So then they're being chased. Battle droids can swim, apparently. And then there's a whole climbing chase. They climb out, they climb up, and they blow half the ship off. It's a fun little adventure that deserved to be cut.
All right, I still have much to learn. Let's go.
All right, C-3PO is offering everyone these purple drinks. Bro, I don't want any. Please, leave me alone, please. No, it's an acquired... Yes, it must be an acquired taste. Thank you. Like you'd know, you're a droid.
It is an acquired taste.
So this scene is all about the early beginnings of the rebellion. Pretty sure this here is supposed to be good old Mon Mothma. Remember, she gave the speech before the Battle of Endor. And then Padme's like, oh, I want to talk to my Jedi friend. I trust him about all of this and, you know, about the beginning of the rebellion and everything. And I'm actually not sure who she's referring to. Is it Anakin or Obi-Wan? Probably Obi-Wan, seeing as though, you know, he's definitely the more reliable of the two. And then this is great. Good old g'day mate over here is like,
We have so many senators on our side. Surely that will persuade the Chancellor.
what a legend. So if you don't know, the prequels, a lot of parts of them were filmed here in Australia, and sometimes it really shows. It's crazy to think that the whole Mustafar lava sequence, battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin, was literally filmed in my backyard, mate. Right here, up the street, up the road. There's a deleted scene in Revenge of the Sith where Master Yoda communes with Qui-Gon on Polis Massa. Yoda's sitting here with his eyes closed and Qui-Gon begins talking. But it's not really Qui-Gon because this is way before the scene was actually approved by Big George. Anyway, he basically says when he became one with the Force, he made a great discovery. And with his training, he can teach Yoda to merge with the Force. And then he says,
You will become more powerful than any Jedi could imagine.
So that's echoing what old man Obi-Wan Kenobi said before being sliced into nothingness.
You strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Did he also leave his underwear behind when he, you know, evaporated into the Force? I wonder if they're in there. Vader's poking around having a look. Anyway, I can see why they took this one out of the film. Kind of like the midi-chlorian thing, you know, over-explaining the way the Force works. Dude, he's a Force ghost. Let him just stay as that. I didn't need to know he got there because of the microscopic cells in all living things. Ah, damn, you already ruined it. Goddamn Qui-Gon Jinn. Cheeky bastard. So there's a deleted scene where Obi-Wan and Yoda rock up to the Jedi Temple and there's literally just a bunch of Tamora Morrisons wearing Jedi robes. Go get myself a Polynesian spa. They all came freshly from the spa. That's why they're wearing the robe. Just had a steam, put the robes on afterwards. Stay warm. And then Obi-Wan's like,
You clones make terrible Jedi.
literally the best line he's ever said. And they have a little bit of a fight. They slice everyone up. Some of these shots were actually used in the final film, like this close-up of Obi-Wan fighting, although the clone robes were replaced with actual clones. Now, we need to question the clones' logic here. Yeah, let's get near some guys with laser swords who can literally sense the Force and see our clone faces. What could go wrong? Also, Obi-Wan's still cracking jokes. Meanwhile, these clones are literally wearing the robes of dead Jedi Obi-Wan probably knew. Kind of kills the vibe, don't you think? That Obi-Wan's saying positive. He sees every opportunity he gets, he takes it, he puts in a joke. Love it. What a man. You clones make terrible Jedi. Meanwhile, Starkiller's... So originally, Obi-Wan and Anakin's duel on Mustafar was going to be much larger and longer. This here is an early CGI animatic of the duel. They ride the lava river, exchanging blows for a good solid minute until they reach the waterfall and then start swinging on wires, which is kind of what we get in the final film. And they end up slicing this giant thing in half, which eventually goes over the edge. But Obi-Wan and Annie have landed on these little hovering platforms, which they control using the Force and have little chase down the river. Pod Racing 2.0.
Now this is pod racing.
That's a great planet for a pod race, man. Coming soon to Vader's Castle, a new attraction. Come see the pod race. And then check out the spin kick from Obi-Wan. Just bam! For once, Obi-Wan's doing the kicking. Obi-Wan gets kicked like literally 10 times in this film. He gets one back in the end. They had to cut it though. And then Anakin's just like, ah, screw it. I'm gonna throw lava at him. And he basically starts shooting lava waves at Obi-Wan. Just, why didn't he think of it? Great idea. Amazing. So Obi-Wan's little platform gets destroyed and he decides to jump onto Anakin's platform and they start dueling and then out of nowhere, ka-swing! Obi-Wan just slices off Anakin's legs. Like, what? It's so brutal. You just see them floppity flop into the river. I guess Obi-Wan has the high ground, but it wasn't supposed to be like this. And he never claims the high ground. He's never like, it's over, Anakin, I have the high ground. And then he, cuts him. But no, he does the cutting first here. But seriously, look at this. Deleted scene Obi-Wan is brutal. Didn't even give Anakin a chance. Anakin just goes in for a swing, a very clumsy swing like he did against Dooku. Just lifts his lightsaber up. Anakin just pauses and Dooku slices off his arm. Same thing here. Just legs are gone. And then Anakin's crawling his way out of the lava river. Sad music is playing. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan's just watching on. What a performance. Yes, yes. Does nothing. Doesn't help his friend. Doesn't, push him into the river. Doesn't stab him to, end his misery. No, just going to leave my friend burning by the river. Really start to question Obi-Wan's, moral compass here. When I discovered there are deleted Order 66 animatics, man. First of all, this scene is kind of weird and breaks Order 66. We see a couple different clones being issued the order, but they don't act on it until a little later. Like this clone on Kashyyyk. He gets a call from Palps. Oh, hey, Palpatine, how you going, mate? Execute Order 66. And then the guy's like, yeah, it'll be done. All right, all good. And then the clone's like, oh, hey, Yoda, mate, how you going? What, he just goes from getting the order to saying hi to Yoda? It doesn't make sense. It should, the head comes off, the whole thing. Anyway, Yoda asks if his men are in place and then tells the commander to spring the trap. And this looks like the beginning of what is the Battle of Kashyyyk. The snail droids are driving towards the beach and the Wookiees cry out and begin storming towards the tank. Guys, they have tanks. You're literally on foot. Seems like a bad idea, right? Not to worry, these clones will provide sniper support from their little vantage point. All the clones in their little holiday cabana huts just pop out. Hello! Also, not sure how regular blasters are supposed to do any damage to the tanks. Clearly, they haven't played much Battlefront 2. But we've moved entirely away from Order 66. This is basically an extended version of the Battle of Kashyyyk. And some of this stuff actually made the final cut, like the Wookiees swinging in and placing bombs on the tanks, and then other stuff that was completely deleted, like the Wookiee who commandeers a snail droid and turns it around to play chicken. The time has come. There are shots of clones being absolutely annihilated, droids being bombed to pieces, and so on. And then as Yoda walks towards the camera, the tone of the scene changes. Commander Cody, the time has come. Execute Order 66. And first up, we have an alternate version of Ki-Adi-Mundi's death. Well, first of all, we just see him surrounded by a bunch of clones, seemingly overviewing a battle. He's not running into combat, trusting his men like he did. No, he's just standing here. We don't get that moment of realization where he turns around, he's like, oh, Ki-Adi-Mundi. No. And a bunch of clones arrive in the elevator ready to do what must be done. But first, cut back to emotional shot of Yoda with his eyes closed, meditating. But seriously, what's with his face here? So we don't actually see Ki-Adi die just yet. First, we head to Felucia and see Aayla Secura leading a battalion through the forest. She puts her hand up, orders them to stop. They kneel, her back turned, and then, talking to Commander Bly, she says,
do you think they're droids?
To which he, ironically, replies,
no.
Cut back to Yoda's eyes, oh my god! The clones make sure they finish the job. Yoda is seeing visions. Immediately cut back to Ki-Adi, and instead of seeing that glance he gives the clones, the moment of realization, he doesn't get that. He's seen falling to the floor as he's berated with blaster fire at point blank range. Dude, the brutality. They're still shooting as he closes his eyes in a close-up of his face. Guys, I think he's dead. Just unloading on him. And then this is my favorite shot. Cut to a very, very happy Palpatine with his choir. He's having a little giggle. Jedi Master Stas Ali flies through the forest on what also appears to be Felucia. Two clones on speeder bikes have her back until deciding the time has indeed come. She gets destroyed. And this scene is really similar to the one that made the film, except instead of Felucia, Stas Ali died on Saleucami in the final cut. All right, this next one is my absolute favorite Order 66 death. Of all Order 66 deaths, not only in Revenge of the Sith, but anywhere you've seen. And it belongs to this man here, Eeth Koth. Or maybe it's Agent Kolar, the other Zabrak Jedi, but he died in Palpatine's office. Anyway, this to me looks like Kashyyyk, and Eeth stands in the hatch of an HAVW A6 Juggernaut Juggernaut, these giant clone tanks. As they drive through the swamp, the tank just ahead slams on the brakes. What? What's going on here? And the mounted turret pivots towards Eth. Zoom in on Eth, who looks pretty blank, to be honest. And then the time has come. You will die. Mounted spinning turret attack. Dude, what I love about this is how it's ridiculously violently over the top. It's so impractical. There are two clones either side of Eth on his own tank. Why didn't they just shoot him? Nope. Gotta get the giant spinning turret to pivot and annihilate him. There's no way those two other clones are surviving this either. They were willing to destroy one of these giant expensive tanks and sacrifice their own men just to make sure poor old Eth is done for. Dude, 10 out of 10 for brutality. Man, look at the fire and explosion here. The blank look on Eth's face. He's like, really, dude? So this is how I go? This is how you're going to kill me? And you're going to delete this death from the final cut of the film? Come on, guys. George, if there's one Order 66 death I could put back in the film, it's 100% this. Mounted spinning turret attack! This is an alternate death for our friend Dave Filoni. I mean, Plo Koon. Sorry, one and the same. The clones tell Koon to land at the nearest platform, and Plo is flying one of the newer Jedi starfighters as opposed to the one which made the film. He's flying like Obi-Wan's old one. And then the three ARC-170s come up from behind. Just hold a second. Bam! Koon's starfighter gets blown to pieces, but instead of him just going down and crashing, he actually uses the ejector seat and is sent flying out of the cockpit. Oh, so he's gonna survive? Nope. He's shot out of the air, goes flying out of his seat, and then his head goes flying off. Wait, what? Did I just see that correctly? He actually gets dismembered as he's in the air, mate. No wonder this stuff got deleted. Look at this. He gets dismantled. They CGI'd his body into pieces. So you know how there's supposed to be that original 4-hour cut of Revenge of the Sith that people talk about? It was actually R-rated. Come on. And then Yoda needs to hold the wall for support. He's so sad. He's so, you know... For the third time in the Order 66 sequence, we're back on Felucia. Not sure if they were actually going to use this planet for all these scenes, if they got approved for the final cut, or if it's just kind of like a placeholder planet for them finishing the CGI. But anyway, a Jedi in the distance is fighting off a wave of separatist battle droids. It's Barriss Offee. Look at how she masterfully deflects the blaster bolts. What a pro. But lurking in the shadows from behind is an ATT. Coming to aid her in battle? Well, let's see. Slowly, it walks towards her as she tears the head off a battle droid with her bare hands. Sweet baby Jesus, that's what I call a force choke. Why do we never see stuff like this actually happen? What a move. But it's too bad for her that all 4 cannons on the ATT are pointed directly at her at point blank and fire. Barriss is shot down, and then, as if to add insult to injury, death, the thing steps on her! The amount of times I've said this film was supposed to be a comedy. You had Obi-Wan and Anakin touching themselves. Anakin having a seizure. And now this! This doesn't even compare to the AT-AT in Empire stepping on Luke's snowspeeder. This is just downright cruel. It's over the top. This is what I call the prequels, ladies and gentlemen. And Yoda's in shock. But then he just walks up to his Wookiee friends and is like, something is wrong. Stay alert. Dude, I think the situation warrants more than just a quick...
Something is wrong.
All his mates just massacred in the most humiliating ways possible.
Something is wrong.
But the shroud of the dark side has fallen. Yoda's vision is clouded, and Yoda must see it with his own eyes. He walks towards the edge of the balcony and looks down on the Battle of Kashyyyk. In the distance, he sees a group of clones surrounding a Jedi. It's Luminara Unduli. She commands the clones, but in that moment, they take one step back, raise their blasters, and shoot her down from all angles. And this, my friends, is when Yoda drops his cane and has a heart attack. Yoda dies before he even gets back to Coruscant to fight Palpatine. 900-year-old heart, not doing great. He kneels over. And then we cut to good old Palpatine, Mr. Burns, sitting happily in his office. Excellent. In this scene, Mace Windu senses a plot to destroy the Jedi. But wait, he actually says that in the final version of the film, doesn't he?
I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi.
Well, this scene here between Windu, Obi-Wan, and Yoda is basically a different version of this scene. Windu also says the dark side of the Force surrounds the Chancellor in both scenes.
I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi.
The dark side of the Force surrounds the Chancellor.
I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi. The dark side of the Force surrounds the Chancellor.
Lots of darkness surrounding Palpatine. Look at Exegol. Can't even see him. Literally living in darkness. In the deleted scene, Yoda's all like, oh, this is just speculation.
Speculation is all we have. Proof we need.
So what are they going to do about it? Well, in the film, Ki-Adi-Mundi says,
if he does not give up his emergency powers after the destruction of Grievous.
Like how they refer to it as destruction. Obi-Wan knows about that, am I right?
Then he should be removed from office.
Whereas in the deleted scene, Windu's the one to say this line.
If the Chancellor doesn't end this war after the destruction of General Grievous, he should be removed from office.
To which Obi-Wan, in all his wisdom, responds,
arrested.
And then Yoda's just all like,
great care we must take.
All right, guys, hold up a sec. We need to chat. As if by now you all haven't realized Palpatine is behind everything. I mean, how can you keep saying, oh, the dark side clouds our judgment. It's all dark, lots of shadow storms. Get real, man. The dude is a dictator. He's got all the power he needs. But Palpatine was right when he said,
I was right. The Jedi are taking over.
They were literally plotting to take over the Senate in both the deleted and final scene.
The Jedi Council would have to take control of the Senate in order to secure a peaceful transition.
It's just too bad they didn't realize that
I am the Senate.
Man, the politics. And speaking of politics, Revenge of the Sith was also going to be a lot more political and show a lot more of the early formation of the rebellion. This scene is called a stirring in the Senate. Just stirring their little drink there, shaken not stirred, huh? Basically, Padme, Senator Organa, Mon Mothma, and g'day mate, Aussie dude with the beard, have gotten together for drinks to discuss their favorite topic, Palpatine. They talk about how the Senate no longer exists. As you know, Palpatine has become the Senate.
We cannot let 1,000 years of democracy disappear without a fight.
And then Bale's all like,
I apologize. I don't mean to sound like a separatist.
Don't worry. You sound nothing like a separatist. But Padme's worried. She's like,
I can't believe it has come to this.
And she has Palpy's back, saying they've known each other for years. They're old buddies, they're old schoolmen. They go all the way back to Naboo. But the rebels accuse Palpy of corruption.
And we cannot continue debating about this any longer.
But shh, guys, it's a secret. We can't tell anyone about our secret rebel club. Okay, you all agreed, right? G'day, mate. But it's this line that's made for Padme.
That means those closest to you. Even family. No one can be told.
Don't tell Anakin you're starting a rebellion, Padme. He might get a little angry, you know, bring up the whole sand thing again. Who knows? The dude's a nutcase.
I hate them.
So what do the rebels decide to do? Actually go and confront Palpy. But first, there was this other deleted scene I covered in another video where Padme wants to talk to a Jedi regarding the matter.
I know a Jedi I feel we should consult.
A Jedi she says she trusts.
I only wish to discuss this with one. One I trust.
Still not sure if that's Anakin, her husband, the man she ran away with and would sacrifice everything for, or Obi-Wan. But anyway, they've got all their senator buddies on board, so it's time to talk to Palpy. They say, Palpy, you're changing the Constitution. You can't just keep doing that. But he's just like,
I want this terrible conflict to end, just as much as you do, my lady. And when it does, I guarantee an immediate return to democracy.
But Padme is sus. She doesn't trust Palpy, so he threatens her.
You must trust me to do the right things, Senator.
But good old mate interrupts.
That is why I am here.
But surely...
I've said I'll do what is right.
G'day. And then Padme thanks Palpy, but for someone saying thanks, she's extremely serious.
On behalf of the delegation of 2000, I thank you, Chancellor.
To sum this scene up, all the senators are basically like, hey, we don't trust you. And Palpatine's just like, well, it doesn't make a difference. I have... Also, Jar Jar's just chilling in the background in this scene. Boom! So, as the senators leave, Palpatine turns to Anakin and says...
They're not to be trusted.
But Anakin's there defending his partner.
Surely Senator Amidala can be trusted.
However, Palpatine is all over it.
Senator Amidala is hiding something. I can see it in her eyes.
All right, creepy old man. You can see it in her eyes. Ah!
I can see it in her eyes.
And Palpatine even plants a seed of doubt in Anakin's mind regarding his Jedi abilities.
I'm surprised your Jedi insights are not more sensitive to such things.
Whiny Anakin turns away. Leave me alone. Get out of my head. So, this is an alternate version of Yoda and Palpatine's duel in the Senate. Some parts of this made it into the final cut, but there's a lot more absurd. But what is going on here? Palpatine is chatting with Vader over the holophone. He's got his royal guards standing either side of his desk. You know, he's sitting in a good spot. And from the shadows behind Anakin's holovid, Yoda enters. The royal guards step forward to guard the newly titled Emperor. And Palpatine ain't having none of it. He gets straight down to business, raises his hands, and, well, let's just say Yoda saw it coming. Instead of going all Count Dooku and catching the lightning, he instead grabs the royal guards, who take the hit. Oh my god, look at them being annihilated! Oh man, I love that these deleted scenes are always way more violent than the scenes that actually make it into the final film. But Yoda's used up his bodyguards, and Palpatine gets in a good hit of lightning. He walks over, towering over Yoda's limp body. But just in time, Yoda springs to life! He jumps out of the way! And this is when Palpatine proceeds to destroy his entire office. Meanwhile, Yoda's sprinting along the walls. Look at him go! Usain Bolt got nothing on 900-year-old Yoda. The boy's a machine. So Yoda does a 720 around this pole and goes straight for Palpy's chest, knocking old Grandpa to the floor. Alright, it's time for lightsabers. They both ignite. But just as they do, we cut to Anakin and Padme. Little scene in the middle, huh? Probably on Mustafar. I'm assuming they wanted to show Anakin turning on Padme between Yoda and Palpatine's duel. But alright, we're back. Yoda and Palpatine exchange blows. As they back up towards the central speaking platform, Palpatine performs this epic dodge. And the two begin their ascent up into the Senate chamber. And as they rise, these camera droids wake up and realize there's some action going on. Oh, we gotta film this. Giant TV screens on the Senate chamber's ceiling turn on, and just as the droids reach our friends, the duel is broadcast for all those watching to see on the big screen in 4K Ultra HD.
This is television. Ultra clarity. It's television redefined.
Alright, but Palpatine isn't happy about being on the big screen, so he starts grabbing the camera droids and hurling them towards Yoda, who blocks and then pushes Palpatine with the Force. Luckily, Palpatine was able to grab onto a camera droid and uses it to be taken up to another platform. Yoda begins leapfrogging his way from droid to droid towards Palpatine. They reach the repulsor pods, and this part is a little more familiar. You guys have probably seen this before. Palpatine starts throwing the pods at Yoda, although this version here is a lot more intense than in the film. Palpatine throws not just one, not two, but several pods at Yoda all at once, just flying in, spinning in, and Yoda's forced to use his Usain Bolt skills to evade. Eventually, Yoda stops one of the pods, spins it clockwise, and sends it back at Palpy for a taste of his own medicine. Then, for no reason at all, Yoda cuts a hole in the bottom of this pod, jumps up, and has the high ground. The duel recommences, but Palpatine knows Yoda has the advantage of speed, so he disarms the Jedi. And Yoda has no choice but to block the Emperor's lightning with his bare hands. But the lightning goes rogue, destroys the camera droids, and as Palpatine moves closer to the Jedi, the lightning is out of control. It destroys the Senate building. Yoda is being overwhelmed, being pushed back. He's lying down.
I can't hold it any longer.
Too weak I am. Or am I? Yoda opens his eyelids wider than ever. He gets back on his feet, he's doing it! And now it's Yoda that's pushing Palpatine back. The lightning begins to actually hit Palpatine. He becomes a skeleton, along with his camera droid, which for some reason decides to get right in there with the action, really trying to get a good action shot there. And then all of a sudden, BAM! Palpatine is sent over the edge. But he's hanging on. He drops down to another pod and begins to fly away, flying his way around and up the Senate chamber. Close-ups of both Yoda and Palpatine can be seen on the big screen until Palpatine rages and destroys Yoda's screen. He didn't like what he was seeing there. Too many wrinkles. And he also destroys the ceiling, which creates a hole, allowing him to escape. So what, the dude can just fly now using the Force to lift up this platform and he just spins his way out of it? What's going on? Wreckage from the ceiling then nearly kills poor old Master Yoda. And as if that's not enough, the clones have showed up. Give him a break. They're here to execute Order 66. But I mean, Yoda's pretty chill in this moment. Instead of pursuing Palpatine through the roof, you know, making his own little hovercraft and flying his way up there, he instead makes his way down and the camera pans back to reveal what's left of the Senate. And also these two clone troopers. So where does Yoda go? In one of the final Revenge of the Sith deleted scenes, he makes his way to Dagobah. Yes, we actually get to see this. Yoda's ship lands on the swamp planet for the first and the last time. The ship's door opens and we see Yoda looking a little down, defeated. And what's interesting about this scene is that the CGI, the effects, the way it looks, everything is pretty much finished. This looks like it was actually in the final film right up until the last moment when George was like, nah, I'm going to take that out. And I agree, it didn't really need to be in the film, but I'm glad we at least get this as a deleted scene, just for the expression on Yoda's face as he views the swamps that turn him into a laughing madman. What is this scene? Who wrote this? Alright, I've got to say it. This is straight up the most ridiculous deleted scene I've ever watched.
I have seen a security hologram.
Of me slaughtering General Grievous in the most brutal way possible. Originally, the sequence in which Obi-Wan chases General Grievous on Utapau was going to be a lot longer and more complex than what we got in the final version of the film. This here is an 8-minute deleted scene of the chase, featuring tunnel sections, a train, wind turbines, the raging battle between the clones and droids, and so much more carnage that was totally unnecessary. Alright, so here we go. General Grievous is off on his bike, and General Kenobi calls in Boga. He runs to her, slicing his way through super battle droids. Grievous flies off the cliff, and Obi-Wan is close behind. So far, pretty much the same as what's in the film, right? Until Obi-Wan rams down a bunch of clones. What? Ah, they're just clones. They're disposable. 200,000 units ready with 1 million more well on the way, right? Obi-Wan doesn't care. Seriously, in the film, it's Grievous who sends clones flying over the edge. I really love deleted scene Obi-Wan in a lot of ways, not just this, in the other ones I've shown you in the past few weeks. He really doesn't give a crap. Slices Anakin in half, no worries, mate. Didn't even need the high ground. So Obi-Wan and Boga go flying down the cliff. Obi-Wan barely holding on. At one point he even gets flipped upside down. Can you imagine the logistics of filming this with Ewan McGregor? Grievous can see Obi-Wan in the distance. And this sequence is actually a lot similar to the deleted Boga chase Lego Star Wars level, which I think is actually based on this deleted scene. They were probably showing this, the developers, and that was supposed to be in the original Lego Star Wars. Alright, so Grievous and Obi are going toe to toe. Who'll make it to the finish line first? Seriously, this is like a pod race, this whole chase thing. They're plowing their way through rocks, rubble, dodging blaster fire. But what I really like about this deleted scene is that it shows the larger battle of Utapau. They fly past thousands of battle droids, clone troopers, vehicles, tanks, and I think this is a big part of why this probably never made the final cut. It's almost too ambitious. There's way too much to fill into the background, too much CGI. They would have had to have hired like 100 extra people to work on this, and even with their amazing budget, wasn't going to happen. Also, Boga gets shot in the tail. Poor girl. Oh, don't shoot the Boga. Hey, listen, you don't want Obi-Wan after you once you see what he's about to do. Alright, we enter a tunnel. Grievous doing the flippity flips on the tunnel wall. He lines up Obi-Wan in his crosshairs and opens fire. Wait, hold up! What about Boga? Don't you dare hit Obi's girl! Oh, sweet, we're all good. She can run upside down. Amazing. What a creature. Okay, so here is where things start to get just a little bit ridiculous. Here we go. Alright, this is some Starkiller type over-the-top kind of stuff. Right, you see this train here? Yep, it's headed straight for the tunnel. Obi-Wan's freaking out, Grievous is freaking out, Boga's freaking out. Oh no, what are they gonna do? Well, Obi and Boga take the side route. Meanwhile, good old General Grievous is like, you know what, it's alright. You think a train will stop me? He shoots a hole in the front and he drives straight on in and literally flattens all onboard passengers. Listen to the people screaming. All right, now I have a few problems with this. First up, why is the train service on Utapau still operating while there's a raging war taking place? Look, when we first see the train, it drives through a battleground of clones and droids. What is the chaos on this planet? Where do these people need to be that it's so urgent that the train service is still running? Second of all, who are the passengers? What, are you just making your daily commute to work, reading the paper? Then bam, General Grievous decides he needs to get through. And third, there is no way Grievous's bike is strong enough to get through here. Sure, it was, decently sturdy in the film, but I mean, Obi-Wan stabs it with the Electra stuff and half the things falls apart. So I really don't see this happening. Seems kind of, just like I said, Starkiller. Starkiller is the bike in this instance. It's the most overpowered bike in the whole series. So after tormenting the poor train travelers of Utapau, Grievous breaks free and the chase is still on. Obi-Wan takes a few swings at the bike with his lightsaber, but up ahead, the road is blocked with clones and battle droids. But alas, the chase continues. Both Obi-Wan and Grievous stampede their way through, not a care in the world. You see what I mean, Obi-Wan? Deleted scene Obi-Wan, what a legend. Slide all through. Look at how many clones are killed here. Just ramming, flying through. Not a care in the world. All right, then this next part is totally messed up. Grievous stops his bike and uses the giant wheel to slice up a bunch of poor clones and send what's left of them at Obi-Wan. Look at this! This is sick, twisted. But it's not just that. This scene, it goes on. It doesn't stop. They just keep doing it. The scene goes for like 30 seconds. He's just standing there awkwardly spinning the wheel. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan's just looking at him with a funny face. What is good? Obi-Wan's just shaking his head. Many clones lost their lives to bring us this sequence. All right, what does Obi-Wan do to stop this madness, to counter this? Turns Boga around and uses poor Boga's tail to fan away the clone leftover. There's torsos being thrown here, arms, heads. It's sure, it all looks like just armor, but I swear, these deleted scenes, man, Star Wars was going to be an R-rated film. Between this and deleted Order 66 scenes and the deleted battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin, this stuff is like... If only we can get that 4-hour cut, fellas. Full of carnage! Alright. The chase continues. Grievous makes his way out onto the edge of these wind turbines. He gets the turbines spinning using his bike, preventing Obi-Wan from getting near. Grievous then makes a phone call and says,
"Prepare to move out of orbit.
I'll be up in a few moments." So Obi-Wan decides that it's a good idea to stick his lightsaber into the turbine, slicing off a few of the blades. Great, he's going to be able to get to Grievous, right? However, one of the blades goes flying towards another turbine, breaking it off and causing it to spin uncontrollably towards their turbine. Okay, now we're in trouble because the turbine slices off the platform, causing Obi-Wan and Grievous to fall a few hundred meters. Ah! I have no idea how they survive this, or how Obi-Wan survives. Seriously, thickest. Anyway, we'll get to that. Then Obi-Wan's hanging on for dear life, while Grievous is trying to do what he did to these poor clones a few minutes ago. Instead of the clone, now there'll be pieces of Obi-Wan flying everywhere. But Boga to the rescue. She cries out from the platform above, "Obi-Wan, stay safe, my friend, I'm coming." But it's too far for her to jump. She can't make it. Obi-Wan has merely seconds to live. The tension is insane. Obi-Wan's about to be sliced and diced, but he grabs onto Grievous's bike, who eventually pulls away from the turbine. But that's not it. The turbine falls off and cuts their platform in half. Grievous is forced to slam on the accelerator and haul himself and Obi-Wan to safety. Alright, now Obi-Wan's being dragged. He attempts a swing at Grievous with his saber, but gets knocked back. He's clinging on for dear life. Meanwhile, his body's probably being torn to shreds, just getting dragged along here. Seriously, they're moving at like 100 miles an hour. How thick can Jedi robes actually be? Look at him. This is like the Terminator 2. He's dragging himself up the cable towards Grievous. And I thought Grievous was the machine. Look at him go. Grievous is trying to poke at the cable with his Electro staff, but it's just out of reach. He can't break the cable. Terminator Obi-Wan's coming in. And then Obi-Wan decides he's going to use the Force to Indiana Jones his way back to Grievous. He throws the cable around a nearby triangle, isosceles, ties it around, and Grievous's bike is torn to pieces. To think, a simple cable could absolutely demolish a vehicle that just minutes earlier, might I remind you, tore its way through a train, dozens of clone trooper body parts, and several wind turbines. Where's the continuity, fellas? Luckily though, Grievous has reached his ship. He's about to make his escape, but he's stuck in the wreckage. And then Obi-Wan gets this total badass moment. Silence, darkness, and then... Obi-Wan emerges from the shadows. What a gangster. Look at him. He searches for Grievous, who at this point is still unconscious until now. Grievous is armed, and Obi-Wan's still searching. Cautiously, he advances. The electro staff stutters by the wreckage. Obi-Wan reaches down to pick it up, but then suddenly... Grievous unloads on Obi-Wan, who approaches with the electro staff, using it to block each blast. He knocks the blaster from Grievous's hand and begins gently prodding Grievous with a giant cotton tip. Seriously, Obi-Wan is armed with one of those things you use to clean your ears. That's what it's look at. Grievous grabs on, trying to wrestle it from Obi-Wan's hands. He launches himself backwards, sending Obi-Wan over, and pins the Jedi to the floor. He then uses Obi-Wan as a melee weapon, battering the wreckage out of the way. Man, Obi-Wan really takes a beating in these films, hey. Between all the kicking, all the time he gets whacked in the face, now this man has the thickest plot armor I've ever seen. But Obi-Wan gets on Grievous's shoulders, still holding the staff. He's thrown backwards, and the staff goes over the edge. Grievous then proceeds to beat the crap out of Obi-Wan. Even extends his double arms and starts belting him in the face. Hold up. Obi-Wan's being smashed in the face with metal cyborg fists, but he's still fine. What? No bruises, no scratches, black eye, no, nothing. Throughout the entire saga, Obi-Wan manages to keep a clean face despite being kicked, punched, and crushed. Where are the injuries?
Hey, kid. It ain't that kind of movie.
Alright, so Obi-Wan pries open General Grievous's chest cavity, and they go for a bit of roly-poly. All the while, Obi-Wan's throwing bits and pieces out of Grievous's chest. He gets right in there, and he seems to have done some serious damage, because poor old Grievous can't get up. Now, this is just a little warning. If you have a weak stomach, or can't deal with graphic images, or can't bear to see your favorite Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi do something morally questionable, then look away now, because saying this next part is intense is an understatement. Obi-Wan walks over to a defenseless Grievous, who at this point is basically disabled. Obi-Wan ignites his lightsaber and stands over the immobilized general. First up, he slices off Grievous's arms. Then, instead of just ending Grievous's life with, the normal way, the respectful stab, Obi-Wan reaches into Grievous's chest, tears out his internal organ, what is this, his brain or his heart, and then throws it across the floor like it's nothing. Listen to the sound as he takes it out. It's like a squelch. Ugh. So Grievous is dead, right? You can see he's not moving at all. So is that enough for Obi-Wan? No. He grabs Grievous's blaster, aims it at the organ, and blasts it. What is this scene? Who wrote this? George? It seems to me like the original idea here was for Grievous's brain to be in his chest, and that as long as the brain was alive, Grievous could be alive. So he had to destroy, I guess so, but Obi-Wan's not done yet. He walks over to Grievous's body and, as if just as a final humiliation, kicks it off the edge into the abyss, never to be seen again. And that, my friends, is what I call a deleted scene. I love the idea of George being shown this and being like,
I may have gone too far in a few places.
There's also a deleted scene where Obi-Wan actually goes and meets Boga. Very cute. Hey, the Boga, hey. Also, one other thing to note, it's not really clear whether or not Boga survives in the film. According to the concept sculptor, George Lucas had said that Boga dies, but it's not really clear in the film. I mean, if Obi-Wan can survive the fall from this far into the water, I mean, he should be dead once again, the plot armor. So I don't understand why Boga can't get some plot armor herself, you know what I'm saying? But that's what I like about the deleted scene. Boga survives. Oh, and I also like the fact that Obi-Wan is the most brutally savage Jedi to ever exist. Clearly didn't read the chapter on the Jedi way. The Phantom Menace was important for one simple reason. The rise of Darth Jar Jar. The most evil, cunning, manipulative Sith Lord the galaxy had ever seen. I'd love to be able to tell you there's a deleted Darth Jar Jar scene, but Jar Jar is such a devious Sith Lord, he went and removed all traces of it from existence. Snuck into Skywalker Ranch and just sliced that thing open. So we're left with these, the Phantom Menace deleted scenes, most of which are super awkward, and is like some weird coming-of-age story for our little boy Annie. It's an alternate, extended version of Darth Maul's duel with Qui-Gon on Tatooine. So the Royal Starship is flying overhead, Qui-Gon's looking to get the heck out of here, there's this random cloaked man chasing him through the desert like a madman. Okay, one thing, when Qui-Gon says,
Anakin, drop!
How did Anakin know to just faceplant to the floor? Did Qui-Gon take him aside earlier in the day and be like, so if some random cloaked man starts chasing us through the desert, I'm going to shout, Anakin, drop! In which case, I want you to faceplant. Seriously, Maul could have prevented the Empire and everything right here if he'd just been a little faster. Also, what type of sick Sith Lord tries to run over some poor slave 10-year-old who just had to say bye to his slave mum for basically the final time? Maul knew what Anakin would become. It's like Clone Wars Season 7. Seriously, no one's ever listening to Maul. And yet he knows and predicts everything. Hashtag justice for Maul. Also, how did Obi-Wan not sense his master is literally dueling a Sith Lord? Had to be told, Qui-Gon's in trouble. And look how chill he is about the whole thing. How he reacts, he's just, in trouble? What? Oh dear.
Over there, fly low.
Alright, so Qui-Gon force jumps his way up onto the ship's ramp, and normally this would mean he's safe and he's escaped. But not this time, because he's up against deleted scene Darth Maul. Maul is still running after him like a madman. He launches himself up onto the ramp and the duel continues. They engage in a saber lock and Qui-Gon eventually pushes Maul off the ramp. Now one thing, if Qui-Gon had waited for like 2 more seconds, the ship would have been way higher, meaning that Maul would have definitely broken his legs on landing. Oh yeah, then Qui-Gon basically has a stroke aboard the ship. So there's a deleted scene in which Anakin is strangling little baby Greedo. Town street, Tatooine, day. 2 hovering droids fly over, carrying scrap. A crowd of cheering children can be heard in the distance. Anakin is beating the crap out of this poor green space alien who never made it off this sandy rock. What if it was this event, this punch Anakin throws right here that led Greedo to a life of scum and villainy in the Cantina Bar where he eventually meets his demise? Alright, so Qui-Gon walks over and calmly says,
What's this all about?
I don't know, Qui-Gon, maybe you're about to induct the galaxy's most powerful, conflicted, evil being into the Jedi Order.
He said I cheated.
Oh my gosh, get ready for some of the wisest words to ever come out of Qui-Gon's mouth.
Did you?
No.
Well, of course he's not going to admit it. He's a liar!
You still think he cheated?
Dogwa.
You'll just have to tolerate his opinion.
Is that what you did when you took Anakin to the Jedi Council and they all told you to not train the boy and you still did? Were you tolerating the opinion of all those who died during Order 66 because of your decision to train the boy?
Fighting will not change it.
Come on, Qui-Gon, man. You're such a joke. A little on the nose there with the writing, George. Isn't it such a George Lucas thing to put Greedo in the Phantom Menace and then the other Rodian just randomly runs off? What is this scene? So you know how Qui-Gon's a bit of a sneaky bastard and tricks Watto into gambling his 10-year-old slave boy away. Well, there's a longer version of that scene.
I'll wager my new racing pod against, say, the boy and his mother.
So in the original scene, Watto straight up says no pod is worth 2 slaves, not by a long shot. But in this scene, he actually takes a second to consider the offer.
A pod for slaves? Well, perhaps,
One thing, don't pods get destroyed all the time in these races, so why would Watto even consider this bet? If he wins the bet and Anakin doesn't win the race, and the pod is destroyed during the race, he gets nothing.
Just one. The mother, maybe. The boy isn't for sale.
Also, I love how he's almost happy to sell Shmi. He knows Anakin's worth more. Still a young boy, you know, he'll grow up and probably get stronger and smarter. Well, maybe just stronger.
He's just a small boy. He can't be worth that much.
No.
What is Jar Jar doing? Just walks off to the side.
For the fastest racing pod ever built.
No.
Hang on, then why did it have the best speed stat in Star Wars Racer?
Both of the bets off.
All right, Qui-Gon, a little forceful with the haggling.
One slave or nothing.
Jar Jar's up to his usual Sith Lord ways off to the side in the background. He even looks like a Sith Lord here. And then this is the part where Watto takes out his Chance Cube and Qui-Gon pulls a sneaky Force push. So when I went to Galaxy's Edge, I only bought one thing. Chance Cube. It's so cool. Did you know there's actually a much longer version of the pod race intro where almost every racer is introduced? Also, did you know Fode and Bede weren't originally animated? Pretty sure the actors who played them didn't even know they were changed into CGI characters until they saw the film. What a way to find out. Alright, so all the pod racers are getting ready. We see Ben Quaterneros frantically waving to the crowd as he's introduced. There's a few extra shots of Sebulba jumping into his pod, fist pump in the crowd. We get introduced to more Honik. This rando in the crowd's taken one too many death sticks. Clegg Holdfast has little mumble. What is this guy, an army general? Look at, he's wearing some badges on his chest. He's very well decorated here. This here is Elon Mack. Oh my gosh, guys, one of my favorites. This guy here is Dud Bolt, the legend. I call him Dudley. All right, this is Mars Guo, moving up from the minor leagues, apparently. Now here it seems like Jar Jar is taking the spotlight away from this bird creature, who definitely isn't too happy about it. Just Jar Jar working in mysterious ways. Okay, so seriously, we're only like halfway through this. I can't believe they had all of this CGI done and finished, and we're actually so close to putting this in the final film. Can you imagine watching this entire sequence in the film? That's what I want, the Phantom Menace cut. Forget the original trilogy cuts. Forget the 4-hour Revenge of the Sith cut. I want the original Phantom Menace pod race cut with the Darth Jar Jar scenes thrown in there somewhere. I know they're out there, man. This is Rats Terrell.
It's Rats Terrell!
And Rats has brought his family to cheer him on. Man, this is so weird. All right, so this guy's got his own band in the crowd. What a legend. This here is Odie Mandrell with a record-setting pit droid team, apparently. And then we get Anakin. Yeah, how you doing, Anakin? Yeah, all right. So they all wave the flags. Shmi tells Anakin to be safe. Sebulba's the real cheating cheater. Jabba the Hutt shows up. Hey, does this mean Boba's gonna watch pod racing in the new series? That'd be epic. Just Boba standing in Jabba's place here. And then we get a bunch more shots of the pods firing up, different engine sounds, alien mumbles. And honestly, this is pretty epic. Especially if you love pod racing. This seems like George Lucas bringing to life his love of racing in cars through the pod racing. And there's a pretty long build up to the start of the race. No music, just engines revving. It's a real car lover's dream. Oh, and Rats Terrell's wife and kids watching on nervously. And then Jabba eats a lizard. And scene. At the start of The Phantom Menace, as the Jedi board the Trade Federation control ship, there's a deleted scene where two droids watch on and talk trash about the protocol droid.
They must be important. The Viceroy sent one of those useless protocol gearheads to greet them.
A Republic cruiser. That's trouble, don't you think?
This looks and feels so out of place.
I'm not made to think.
After watching this, I have just one thing I want to say. Man, so many people already hated The Phantom Menace when it first released because it was the first Star Wars film George Lucas had made after the original trilogy. And it was so vastly different from the original trilogy, which people love and adore. Can you imagine how much worse the backlash would have been if they left this one brief scene in the film?
I'm not made to think.
Did you know that Bail Organa was originally going to first appear in The Phantom Menace, although he was going to be played by this guy? This is Adrian Dunbar, a Northern Irish actor. He had just one line in the film, very brief, but the scene was eventually cut.
Alderaan seconds the motion for a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Valorum.
Also, again, pretty sure this guy didn't know the scene was being cut out and that his character was recast by someone completely different for Attack of the Clones. Jimmy Smith's replacing him. No one tells him. George doesn't call him up and say, oh yeah, hey, by the way, we don't need you for the next film. And yeah, we got someone else to play exactly the same character. What? Also, there's a woman in the pod here with Princess Leia hair. Just thought I'd point that out. Do you know how at the start of Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan and Anakin chase Sam Wessel through the streets of Coruscant in speeders? Well, there's an extended scene cut from the film, which starts with Anakin boasting that he could fly before he could walk.
You know I've been flying since before I could walk. Just slow down.
And Obi-Wan's freaking out. The chase is tense. The Jedi and Zam speeders weave in and out of oncoming traffic. And then Zam gets a brilliant idea. The Jedi's greatest weakness, a group of flags. Oh no. She flies through them, the Jedi follow, and bam! A flag is caught in the Jedi speeder's engine. Anakin is freaking out.
We're losing power.
The last time I saw him this distressed was when he recalled the time he slaughtered a full village of sand people. Look at his face! Anakin's greatest fears: sand people, and flags. So once again, it's up to Obi-Wan to save the day. He lies down on the hood, reaches out for the flag, trying to dislodge it from the engine. The tension is palpatineable. The flag is just out of reach. Wait, he's got it! He's got it! Obi-Wan saves the day yet again. The chase continues and makes its way straight into the Blade Runner universe. Seriously, this is like exactly the opening scene. This is a deleted scene from Attack of the Clones that delves more into the political side of Star Wars. Palpatine is being manipulative, telling the Senate he's negotiating with the Separatists and that peace is his objective. I mean, I guess he wasn't lying. Then Padme comes in and is like, hey guys, I was nearly killed by a bomb and a couple of venomous caterpillars.
Less than an hour ago, an assassination attempt was made against my life.
Now, I have just one question. How did she go from wearing this to this in less than an hour? It looks like it'd take at least 3 hours to get into that thing, and then the makeup, and then this is all just moments after she's seen one of her close friends killed for her. Sorry, I'm not buying it. And neither was George, and that's why they cut it. So basically, Padme is trying to stop the Senate's approval of an army, which we eventually learn is the Clone Army, and they've actually been, created in the works on Kamino for 10 years at this point.
Wake up, senators! You must wake up! If you offer the Separatists violence, they can only show violence in return.
She talks about everyone being led by fear and urges the Senate to vote against the security of an army. And then, after she gives her speech, we get this. Okay. What? Why and what? Then Palpatine's all like, hey, this is serious, but the hour is late.
Due to the lateness of the hour and the seriousness of this motion, we will take up these matters tomorrow.
What the hell, Palpatine? And that's it. This is the Jedi Temple analysis room. Obi-Wan's here to get Wally to analyze Jango's toxic dart. First up, how epic is it that the Jedi Temple has its own analysis room like this? Look at the size of it. How many things could these droids be analyzing? Droid looks pretty busy in the back. Mohawk here calls him over. He takes the dart, puts it in the MRI machine, and it spins around. And even with all of this, they can't identify it and say it's probably custom made by a warrior. I love how they designed and animated all of this just for a quick scene. This is in the Jedi Temple. Then at the end, Obi-Wan's speaking to himself.
I know who can identify this.
There's a deleted scene from Attack the Clones where Obi-Wan speaks to the librarian about Count Dooku. Obi-Wan is staring at Dooku's bust in the Jedi library, and Jocasta Nu reaches over and touches Dooku's face.
He has a very powerful face, doesn't he?
And then Obi-Wan's like,
I never understood why he quit.
Then the librarian goes on to say he was out of step with the decisions of the council.
Much like your old master, Qui-Gon Jinn.
Really?
And I just love how political so many of these deleted scenes are. There's so much backstory for the Separatists, for the war, for Count Dooku.
In the end, I think he left because he lost faith in the Republic.
This scene is actually called the Lost 20, referring to the 20 Jedi Knights that left the Jedi Order, Dooku being one of them. Now here's something for you to think about. Was Dooku actually evil? Or did he just no longer agree with the Republic and the Jedi? I feel like if Dooku just left and, didn't eventually team up with Palpatine, we'd see him very differently. He's not really a villain. He's just, he just has different ideas. Did you know that Anakin's nightmares actually started before he even got to Naboo? There's a deleted scene where he's having a nightmare and he's woken by Padme while traveling to Naboo.
You seem to be having a nightmare.
Yeah.
And Padme already knows what he's dreaming about. She's reading his mind somehow.
You're dreaming about your mother, aren't you?
And we actually get some insight into why Anakin is feeling so tormented.
I left Tatooine so long ago that my memory of her is fading.
And he talks about seeing her in his dreams, scary dreams.
I worry about her.
I feel like this scene, if it was left in, could have added more to his fall to the dark side. It shows the conflict in him. He's really struggling here. There's an extended deleted scene from Attack of the Clones of Anakin and Padme arriving on Naboo that gives us some insight into Anakin's upbringing with the Jedi and also Padme's past.
When I first started my training, I was very homesick.
And in this scene, as Padme and Anakin carry their suitcases through town, Padme talks about how she never thought she'd be a politician and that she was the youngest ever to be elected. Anakin tells her she did a great job and that the people of Naboo wanted her to stay in power, but Padme is wise. She says that being popular gives the people what they want and not what they need. It's not democracy. And she talks about wanting to have had a family from a young age and that her sister has wonderful kids, foreshadowing what happens later, I guess, I guess she kind of eventually gets her family. That's dark. This is a deleted scene of Obi-Wan and Mace Windu talking about Kamino. And if you've played some of the older Star Wars games, you might recognize this location. This is the Jedi Temple's hangar, which you can play through in the Revenge of the Sith game, killing both Jedi and starfighters as a newly appointed Darth Vader. In the background, we can see some starfighters being worked on and repaired, and Obi-Wan asks Windu if he thinks a Jedi could have erased any information about Kamino from the archives.
I hope not. But this disturbance in the Force is making it hard to get a sense of things.
And then they talk about Anakin being the chosen one, and Obi-Wan is worried.
His skills have made him, well, arrogant. I realize now what you and Master Yoda knew from the beginning. The boy was too old to start his training.
And Obi-Wan even tells Windu about Anakin's feelings for Padme and that he won't be able to protect her.
He has an emotional connection with her. Now he's confused, distracted.
And Windu is as wise and stupid as ever.
Obi-Wan, you must have faith that he will choose the right path.
Then Obi-Wan takes off and leaves in his starfighter while Windu is literally standing right next to his ship. Windu, mate, don't you want to, like, watch your distance? It's a starfighter. So there are several deleted scenes from Attack of the Clones set on Naboo featuring Padme's family.
We're here.
This girl chases R2-D2 around in circles. Anakin meets Padme's sister, her mother, her father, and then Padme's sister says,
"Did you know, Anakin, you're the first boyfriend my sister's ever brought home?"
Then Padme's all like, "Whoa, everyone, hold up, friend zone. We've known each other for years. Everyone calm down. He's yet to seduce me with his speech about sand." Literally, the first time they kiss is moments after he says,
I don't like sand.
Anyway, the parents learn Anakin is actually her Jedi bodyguard, and Padme lies to them, saying she's not in any danger, but Anakin tells the truth.
Yes, I'm afraid she is.
Cut to Anakin having a good chat with Padme's father in the garden. He wishes he'd traveled more and works at the university. All details we didn't need, but we got. And he asks Anakin how much danger Padme is actually in. Anakin reveals there have been 2 attempts on her life, that Obi-Wan is tracking down the assassin. But what's so tragic about this is that Anakin is the one who basically eventually kills her. And her parents walk behind her casket at the funeral in Revenge of the Sith. They're the same people that are here. Sad stuff. This is Padme's bedroom, another deleted scene from Attack of the Clones. Anakin says he's never really had a home. Dude, what are you talking about? Your home on Tatooine, you remember? You had C-3PO, your mum. On the walls in Padme's bedroom are these moving hologram photo frames, which are kind of like live photos. George Lucas predicting the future here. Padme tells Anakin about each photo. In this one here, Padme is helping this species relocate to another planet after their sun was imploding and their planet was dying. But they all died, she reveals. Dark stuff. After Anakin and Padme are captured on Geonosis, there's a deleted scene in which they're interrogated by Count Dooku. Padme requests they release Obi-Wan, who's also been captured. But Dooku's like,
"We don't recognize the Republic here, Senator."
Django standing in the background with his cloak on. I wish we got some more scenes of him wearing this. Love this. I got a toy of him wearing this. But Dooku informs Padme that if Naboo were to join the Separatists, he might be able to do something about releasing Obi-Wan.
And if I don't join your rebellion?
The Republic cannot be fixed, my lady.
But Padme says she won't betray the Republic. She knows Dooku is up to some shady business. Then we get some... And they leave. This might be one of the most unnecessary scenes in Attack of the Clones. Honestly, can't believe they even bothered filming this. Anakin and Padme on trial. So Padme's like, "You're committing an act of war. I hope you're prepared." Then Geo here has a mad flex. "We build weapons. Of course we are ready for war. Oh, snap." And Newt Gunray is sitting in the shadows all like,
"I want to see her suffer."
And off they go to be executed. Wholesome family viewing. Did you know there's actually a deleted scene from Attack of the Clones where C-3PO finally gets given his armor plating? You know how in The Phantom Menace C-3PO is naked? My parts are showing. Well, when Padme and Anakin arrive on Tatooine looking for Anakin's mother, Padme shares a scene with 3PO. "Are you happy, 3PO? "Well, I'm not unhappy. It's just being like this, naked. You see, little boy Anakin went away before he could finish me." C-3PO's been sitting here for years, naked. Then Padme's like, "Oh wait, dude, there's a box of coverings literally right here in this room." And 3PO's like, "Oh my, I never noticed." Literally been sitting in this room for years, 3PO. Come on, man. So she puts on 3PO's armor plating, and he's finally complete. And this deleted scene was actually only revealed a few years ago at Star Wars Celebration. I think it's now common knowledge how much of a struggle George Lucas went through getting this film made, and a huge part of that was the editing process. Did you know that his wife at the time, Marsha Lucas, was responsible for making this film actually work in the edit after George fired his previous editor? A lot of people give Marsha credit for saving this film from the cutting room floor, so let's see if she cut the right scenes out. This is a random shot of an old woman walking on Tatooine. There's a gonk droid in the background also. She walks up, turns around, waves her hands for some reason, says something that we don't hear because there's no audio, and then continues on her way. No idea who this was supposed to be, but I am surprised this did not make it into the special editions. If George was going to re-include all those other shots, plus add all the CGI, why not make this one work? Who is the old woman? Is she the old woman from the end of Rise of Skywalker? Who are you? I'm Rey. Rey who? Perhaps, we're not sure. This is Aunt Beru getting Luke's blue milk from the blue milk dispenser. This is where it all started, people. Also, she has a bowl of what look like small avocados or passion fruit or something, but let me draw your attention to the blue milk dispenser. In universe, clearly it's sensor operated. She puts the thing there and blue milk comes out. But the scene actually still has the original audio from on set where we hear someone call for Charlie. Charlie? Who turns on the blue milk tap. And look at how careless Beru is with the drip. She doesn't even wait for the tap to stop before taking the jug away. Blue milk's just gonna drip all over the kitchen floor, man. It's going everywhere. Which is clearly the reason why they decided to cut this scene, I'm assuming anyway. In the kitchen, we can also see some watermelon here on the left. And this thing on the right here looks similar to that ice cream maker held by Wilro Hood, the infamous Empire Strikes Back ice cream guy who you can actually play as in LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. Together, we will deliver the ice cream across the galaxy. Tosche Station is a location we didn't see on screen in Star Wars until it was reintroduced in the Book of Boba Fett. But that location actually came from this deleted scene. Originally, George Lucas wanted to show Luke having a bit of a social life. The scene starts with Luke standing next to a water vaporator and a droid fixing some kind of radio. He then takes out his binoculars and looks up to the sky. See some flashing lights. This is actually supposed to be the Star Destroyer attacking the Tantive 4 from the beginning of the film. He runs to his speeder and wants his skinny droid friend to come along, but like everything else on the set of this film, the droid breaks down. Seriously, if you look into it, the absolute nightmare it was getting all the props and droids to work in the desert. It's a miracle this film was even finished. You might not know, but George Lucas actually had a mental breakdown during post-production and went to hospital just because of stress. So Luke drives from here to Tosche Station to catch up with his mates. Before we go inside, can I just say I am so disappointed we never got to see Bucket Hat Luke in the final film. He never wears this. And the goggles, man, look. So inside Tosche Station, we have Leia's Low-Nosner and Cammy Marstrap, and then the one and only Biggs Darklighter. Now this guy is important. And Luke meeting him here and us being introduced to the character kind of makes more sense than him just appearing before the Battle of Yavin later on.
I don't believe it! Hey, how are you? How'd you get it?
It provides context to who he actually is, one of Luke's old friends, and we see their relationship in the next few scenes. And oh, and by the way, he's also the man who possesses the greatest mustache in all of Star Wars. Look at that thing. Now, just a little side note. For those of you who watch my LEGO Star Wars series, you'll know that at one point, Biggs Darklighter was actually my greatest enemy. For the longest time, I could not work out how to remove this orange box from the back of my ship. No matter what ship I flew, no matter where I traveled, there it was! The dreaded, evil, cursed orange box! And who put that box on the back of my ship? Biggs Darklighter. During this time, my hatred towards Biggs Darklighter only grew, and his fantastic mustache made everything so much worse. But I expressed this publicly, and this didn't go down well with a certain other YouTuber. I cannot believe the level of disrespect I've just seen on display. I thought you were a good person, Bombastic. You're always nice whenever we had the pleasure of meeting up, but the way you have treated Biggs, when all he wanted to do was move an orange box from one planet to another. Unforgivable. Thanks, Alex. So I did eventually remove the orange box, but I could never forgive Biggs for what he had put me through. So watching this deleted scene, for me, is extra special. And then seeing him die in the Yavin 4 space battle, also great moment. So back to the deleted scene. Biggs and Luke are happy to see each other. Luke leads Biggs outside to see the battle in the sky. Then, for no reason at all, Cammy calls Luke Wormy.
I think Wormy's caught too much sun.
Wormy? What? What does that mean? We'll come back to this. It's important. Okay, so we're outside, and can I just point out that Biggs is wearing a cape? What is it with mustached men in this galaxy wearing capes? Biggs is all like,
"That's no battle, hotshot. The rebellion's a long way from here."
And then Cammy calls Luke Wormy again.
Don't worry about it, Wormy.
I said we'd come back to that, and I said it said it was important. So for the longest time, no one knew why Cammy called Luke Wormy. What does it mean? Is there some hidden meaning or background behind this word? Did Luke at one point popularize the worm dance? Up until a few years ago, no one knew. Until, in an interview, Mark Hamill finally revealed the true meaning of Wormy. He said, "This beautiful actress calls him Wormy. I loved it because you saw that he wasn't well liked by his peers." So it was literally just a derogatory term from Cammy, calling Luke Wormy randomly. I don't know, it was a George Lucas thing. Clearly, something he thought up. Hey, what's a Star Wars way of making fun of someone? I don't know. We'll get them to call him Wormy. George, what were you on that day? Did you know that this entire Toshi Station sequence was supposed to be intercut with the attack on the Tantive 4 at the start of the film? With C-3PO and R2-D2 landing on Tatooine, with Princess Leia trying to avoid being captured and then talking to Darth Vader? All of that was supposed to fall in place, cut in between this.
I think Wormy's got too much sun.
It was supposed to give us some context to Luke. But then, of course, in the final cut, we don't actually meet Luke until he meets up with droids. So, Luke and Biggs are having a drink. Luke is telling a story about crashing his T-16 Skyhopper. He's bonding with his old mate. Biggs says,
"I've missed you, kid."
And Luke's like,
"Things haven't been the same without you, Biggs."
Man, this writing is more romantic than the love scenes in Attack of the Clones. But then things get even deeper, and we get our first real taste of Star Wars politics.
I didn't come back just to say goodbye. I shouldn't tell you this, but you're the only one I can trust.
It's revealed that he's actually leaving the Empire to join the Rebel Alliance.
We're gonna jump ship and join the Alliance.
The rebellion?
Yes, that's right. Biggs was actually enrolled in the Imperial Academy. That's why he left Tatooine in the first place. And this is something Luke has actually expressed interest in doing himself.
And I want to be on the side I believe in.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm stuck here.
It's crazy to think that so much of what we have in Star Wars today, the broader side of it, all came from this first film. All the ideas of the Empire, their tyrannical rule, the absence of democracy, all started here. Biggs expresses his wavering belief in the Empire, and then he wants to fight for the side he believes in. And then Luke says he was actually enrolled to join the Imperial Academy.
Going to the Academy next term, aren't you?
Luke was gonna be in the Empire. Can you imagine? Luke, a stormtrooper, a TIE fighter pilot. But Luke says he cancelled his application because the Sand People have been a growing problem for Uncle Owen.
No, I'm serious. The Sand People have been getting really crazy. They've even raided the outskirts of Anchorhead.
Come on.
But it's more than that. And both of them realize. Biggs talks about how the Empire is taking over the galaxy. No planet is safe.
What good's all your uncle's work if the Empire takes it over?
And then a sad moment. The two realize they probably won't see each other again. Biggs is leaving in the morning. Luke is stuck here. But he ends by saying,
"You'll always be the best friend I've ever had."
So long, Luke.
It's so sad. Now I understand Biggs more. Biggs, you're not my enemy anymore. I love you. Befriending blue milk addicts everywhere. Maybe you could help Luke with his addiction. Maybe that's why Luke drinks so much blue milk. Because he's lost his best friend. Maybe that's why he became addicted. He went down that spiral. Oh, the poor guy. Had this entire scene with Toshi Station and Biggs being left in, it would have given a lot more context to Luke being so excited to see Biggs just before the Battle of Yavin. That said, I think it's really cool this scene still works regardless of the film not including the deleted scene. Did you know there's an extended version of Biggs's interaction with Luke before the Battle of Yavin? It's not so much their interaction that's interesting though, it's the reference to Anakin Skywalker. Yes, that's right, there's a reference to Anakin Skywalker in A New Hope. Red Leader interrupts their reunion to ask Luke if he can handle his X-Wing. Biggs backs him up by saying he's the best bush pilot in the Outer Rim. And then Red Leader says,
I met your father once when I was just a boy. He was a great pilot. You've got half the skill he had, you'll do all right.
What you might not know is that the entire scene with Biggs wasn't even included in the original release of Star Wars. Biggs was just Red 3.
Red 3 standing by.
And Luke only talked to him over the comms during the attack on the Death Star. The scene with Biggs in the hangar was only added back into Star Wars in the 1997 special editions, which included everything you've seen before apart from this mention of Anakin. This deleted scene shows us some of the most unique footage of Tatooine in all of Star Wars up until The Phantom Menace was made. In the Search for R2-D2 deleted scene from A New Hope, C-3PO is actually driving Luke's land speeder, and we get some first-person footage flying over the Tatooine desert, similar to what we see in the pod race in The Phantom Menace. This scene also includes a mention of Ben Kenobi living out this way somewhere.
Oh, Ben lives out in this direction somewhere. It's just, I don't see how that R2 unit could have come this far.
And Luke telling 3PO Uncle Owen will probably deactivate him at some point for losing R2.
Uncle Owen's not going to take this very well. Probably only deactivate you for a day or so. Deactivate?
This scene is supposed to come before Luke is attacked by the Tuskens and then saved by Ben. And apparently wasn't included in the film because George didn't like the visual effects. Luke and 3PO aren't actually moving, the land speeder isn't moving. Instead, the background is moving behind them to make it seem like the land speeder is speeding through the desert. I guess George could have fixed this in the special editions, but clearly didn't think the scene added anything to the film. This here is a rough cut of the cantina scene from A New Hope. Did you know that the cantina scene was actually shot twice? Once in England, which is the footage you're seeing here, and then once in California, where new aliens and creatures were added to the scene to give it more depth and personality. So I never knew the bartender was dubbed. This is what he originally sounded like.
Hey! We don't serve their kind here.
What?
The droids. They left to wait outside. We don't want them here.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
And this is what he sounds like in the final film.
We don't serve their kind here. You're droids. They'll have to wait outside. We don't want them here.
A lot of the famous Cantina aliens aren't actually in this version because they were the ones shot in California after George decided he wasn't happy with this version of the scene. Also, the shots of Han talking to this woman weren't included in the final cut. According to Wikipedia, her name is Jenny. Oh wow, Dr. Evazan was also dubbed. Listen to this thick British accent.
He doesn't like you. I don't like you either. You just watch yourself.
He doesn't like you. I don't like you either. Just watch yourself. You'll be dead.
So Jenny's scenes with Han, like I said, were completely cut from the film. She was actually still sitting at the table when Ben and Luke come to talk business, and Han tells her to go away.
Sweetheart.
This scene also includes a few extra shots of Chewbacca's reactions to what Luke and Ben are saying, but apart from that, it's mostly the same. Did you know that Greedo actually had voice lines before George gave him an alien voice?
Going somewhere, Solo. But it's too late. I'm not going back to Jabba with another one of your stories.
And look at his hand. I'm glad George changed his hand to a much more normal human hand because Greedo holding this blaster with these long fingers looks ridiculous. Han also has a couple different lines in their interaction.
I don't think they'd like another killing in here.
They'd hardly notice.
And guess what? Han actually shoots first, just like he did in the original, because this is the original. Of course he shoots first. This is one of the goofiest Star Wars deleted scenes I have ever seen. The costumes are ridiculous, the character's absurd. This guy runs through the streets, then runs between these two giant legs, which walk out from behind the camera. What? Stormtroopers enter frame and begin searching door to door for R2 and 3PO. A few more extras walk by. This guy has some giant lump under his shirt, probably smuggling drugs or something, I don't know, death sticks. And this guy is wearing like a sumo wrestler suit. Can you imagine if this got left in? This is one of those scenes that is so dated, looks so 1970 special effects. It could have destroyed Star Wars. There's also a blue-green astromech droid in the background. Don't know where they got that. Wow. What a scene. The deleted scene where Darth Vader orders for the search to be widened for the rebels in A New Hope.
It's just a matter of time before we find the droids. Send in more troops if you have to.
Was actually used in the Star Wars Holiday Special.
It's just a matter of time before we find the rebels. I want the rebels located and identified.
But what I find most interesting about it is that this guy literally calls Tarkin a fool.
Till then, we waste time with Governor Tarkin's foolish plan to break her.
He thinks Tarkin is foolish. Dude, do you know who Tarkin is? I think in doing so, this guy is literally, it's a death sentence. He's literally asking to be killed. Darth Vader's just going to turn to you and just like... From A New Hope, there's actually an extended version of the Imperial meeting on the Death Star. And in this extended version, we get the first ever on-screen mention of a Sith Lord. General Tagg refers to Darth Vader as a Sith Lord, saying he will be the Empire's undoing.
This Sith Lord sent by the Emperor will be our undoing.
And he was quite right. Darth Vader was eventually the one to defeat the Emperor. But this is the only time Sith Lords were mentioned in the original trilogy, and it's in a deleted scene. But it wasn't until The Phantom Menace that we got our first proper in-universe, on-screen mention of Sith Lords.
My only conclusion can be that it was a Sith Lord.
Originally, the Geonosis Arena battle in Attack of the Clones was going to be much longer and more complex than the version we saw in the film. The extended version included a Jedi raid on a droid control ship and additional sequences to the ground battle, some of which were way more brutal than what we saw in the final cut. Lots of Jedi die here. The first deleted sequence introduces us to the raid on the droid control ship. Now, you know how in The Phantom Menace, all the Naboo starfighters fly up into space to try to destroy the control ship to shut down the droids, which Anakin accidentally eventually does, I guess. Well, that's what these Jedi here, led by Ki-Adi-Mundi and Plo Koon, were attempting to do on Geonosis. Now, just a heads up, a lot of these scenes look pretty rough. None of them were really properly completed. There's a lot of chop this and this together, blue screen here, and actors dressed as Jedi swinging sticks at literally nothing. But that's all part of the fun. This looks like it would have been so much fun to film. Hard to think that when they were filming this, there were no droids. They're all just swinging at the air. We get an additional shot of Kit Fisto using a force push on some droids. This is the same smile he gives C-3PO after pushing him in the final film. Favorite smile in all of the films. This is a deleted shot of Mace Windu running towards Jango Fett, who's still getting up off the ground after being trampled by the Reek. But if you look closely, it's not actually Jango. This is Boba Fett. So what's Boba Fett doing dressed in his armor as an adult in the Geonosis arena in Attack of the Clones? At this stage, he's still supposed to be that kid that said,
"Yep."
I think it's likely this CGI Jango Boba is just a placeholder for the final shot. Perhaps they already had a rendered model of Boba on file, so just used this and would eventually replace him with Jango once the CGI in this scene was approved and completed, but there you go. Mace Windu meets up with Obi-Wan in the middle of the arena, which they also do in the final film, but here in the deleted scene, they have a little chat. Obi-Wan says,
"Someone's got to shut down these droids."
To which Mace says,
"Don't worry, they're taken care of."
Cut to a shot of Ki-Adi, Plo Koon, and a bunch more Jedi fighting their way up the entrance to the droid control ship. Droids are shooting back, a couple Jedi die,
Do a barrel roll.
and then we're back on the ground with Obi-Wan and Mace. The Reek charges in to break up their bromance. In the film, Jango kills the Reek, and then this is the moment we've all been waiting for. Jango Fett versus Mace Windu. This here is what the rough version of Jango's death looks like. As you can see, Mace takes a few extra swings and then goes to the final blow. And it seems as though Jango was actually trying to block Mace's swings with his wrist gauntlets, but that's not what happens in my version. Mace cuts Jango's blaster, slices off his left arm, stabs him in the right hip, and then goes for the final swing, which I'm going to go ahead and say makes this the most brutal death in all of Star Wars. By a lightsaber anyway. Now can you imagine Boba watching this from the side? Daddy, no. One other thing to note from Jango's death, it looks like he actually tried to use his jetpack to fly away after Mace sliced his blaster in half, but the jetpack malfunctioned after being trampled by the Reek. You can see the jetpack briefly switch on just before he dies, and this is actually in the film. It's not just in a deleted scene. And a few moments before his death, you could also see the jetpack sparking just as Jango notices Mace coming his way. So he did try to get away, but not successful. Ki-Adi-Mundi leads a group of Jedi Knights through the droid control ship. Each Jedi frantically swings and stabs their lightsabers, dismantling battle droids, desperately trying to infiltrate the control room and shut down the droid. Look at the swings, the spins, the blocks. Now let's just watch this scene with no context at all and no sound. Back on the ground, the battle rages on. Explosions, Jedi are killed, dragged aside. A group of Jedi are blown to pieces. This guy kicks a super battle droid. A Geonosian stabs a super. Spinning back kick attack. The Nexus Cat grabs some dinner, tramples a droidica, I think it dies here as well. A few familiar faces, a Jedi falls from a platform, gets blasted in the face, complete chaos all around. The Acklay also gets himself a feast, but then Obi-Wan notices and goes in and slaughters the poor thing, who's just another misunderstood creature like the Rancor, trapped in a life of slavery and violence, and at the mercy of a lightsaber-wielding madman. Mace Windu, Padme, and Anakin meet up at an overturned cart and wonder why Ki-Adi-Mundi hasn't yet shut down the droids from the control ship. I love how they used the Comic Sans font for the deleted scenes. Man, the professionalism. In the droid control ship, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Plo Koon, and the Jedi have finally infiltrated the control room. The Nemoidians all start to scramble in fear. Some of them are killed. Our main man Ki-Adi-Mundi makes his way to the control chair and pushes a button. This button is supposed to deactivate all the droids fighting in the Geonosis arena. Literally just one button for all the droids. And it works! They see the droids deactivate on the screens in the control ship. A moment of silence on the battlefield, of peace. Many Jedi have fallen. Has it worked? Was it really that simple? The droids spring back to life. They're back online. Stupid Jedi. These droids are more advanced than the ones in the Phantom Menace. They're autonomous. They operate independent of the control ship.
They're independent of the control system.
And so the battle rages on, and many more Jedi were killed. Obi-Wan swinging and blocking. Stas Ali force pushes a few droids. The Geonosians are still here fighting, shooting, and the Jedi are completely outnumbered. More and more are brutally slaughtered by the droids, and only Plo Koon and Ki-Adi-Mundi remain alive on the droid control ship. All their fellow friends have died, perished. We see a close-up of the bodies of defeated Jedi on the battlefield, their blank eyes expressionless. Mission failed. So this entire sequence with the Jedi heading up to the control ship was completely cut from the film because George felt it overcomplicated the battle. There was too much going on at once. First we had Anakin, Obi-Wan and Padme survive the beasts. Then the droids join in, the Jedi come to the rescue. They had to fit in Jango's death here somewhere, the death of the beasts, the defeat of the Jedi, and then Dooku gives a little speech, and then the arrival of the clones. To add another subplot into all of this was going to be way too much. It made the entire sequence feel too cluttered, too confusing, and therefore George decided to take it all out. Which is kind of a shame when you look at how much there really was here, but it's cool to see the connection to the Phantom Menace with the droid control ship, and the fact that Jedi actually had some sort of plan here rather than just, you know, relying on their skills with a lightsaber.
This party's over.
Yeah, for you killed half the Jedi, Mace. And you might have noticed how in the final cut of the film, as all the Jedi are gathered together after the ceasefire as Dooku is talking, Ki-Adi-Mundi and Plo Koon have been captured and are ushered into the group. Well, now you know why. They were busy up in the control ship and then eventually were captured and brought down here and, you know, just rejoined the pack. An early version of Anakin's fight with Obi-Wan shows Anakin strangling Padme in a way that is way more brutal than what made it into the actual film. Not only does he choke her using the Force, but with his back to her lifts Padme up against a wall and then drops her to the floor, all moments before launching into his duel with Obi-Wan. I can understand why this didn't make it into the final version of the film, being way too dark, and going against the fact that on some level Anakin still loves Padme in this scene, but man is this brutal. Did you know that in the original choreographed fight of Anakin's duel with Count Dooku at the start of Revenge of the Sith, Anakin was supposed to blind Dooku in one eye using his lightsaber? This duel arguably has one of the darkest endings of all Star Wars duels in all of the films, with Anakin taking both lightsabers and then listening to Palpatine.
Do it.
So it's interesting to see that the original version of this duel was even darker and even more brutal. At one point, Anakin also kicks Dooku in the face, which was included, I believe, in the final fight. There are some lightsaber moves Anakin uses here that I think were taken out of this duel and then used instead in his duel against Obi-Wan. Anakin pleads with the Jedi Council about Ahsoka's innocence after the bombing on the Jedi Temple.
All of the evidence so far points to your Padawan.
It's interesting that both Mace Windu and Ki-Adi-Mundi are adamant that the evidence is against Ahsoka, that she is likely guilty of betraying the Jedi way, and Anakin is becoming hostile towards the Jedi until Master Yoda requests to speak to Anakin alone. Mace Windu literally rolls his eyes, and all the Jedi leave, and Yoda, wise as ever, urges Anakin to act. Really wish this was kept in. Again, I'd love to see another version of the Clone Wars with a lot of these scenes included. Darth Maul originally had way more dialogue in The Phantom Menace that ever made it to the final cut. There's actually a TV spot trailer from all the way back in the 90s where Darth Maul talks quite a bit and has a monologue where he goes on about fear.
Fear attracts the fearful, the strong, the weak, the innocent, the corrupt.
The original actor who voiced Darth Maul, Peter Serafinowicz, has also admitted to a lot of it being cut and recording way more lines for the film than ever made it. In fact, Darth Maul only says 3 lines in The Phantom Menace. The rest of it's just angry snarls and lightsaber spins. This is early test footage of the Anakin versus Dooku duel from the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. It not only features Dooku getting stabbed in the eye, eventually disarmed, and then getting his head cut off, but also a number of stunts we've never seen before. A lot of these moves can also be recognized in the Revenge of the Sith video game. It's interesting seeing how much inspiration the developers of that game took from early fight scene footage such as this, influencing the lightsaber combat and style given to each of the game's characters. For example, this saber lock and then push is Anakin's grab move in the game. Also, Anakin's iconic block stance can be seen here, with him holding his saber basically upside down across his shoulder. And I think it's also important to appreciate Hayden Christensen's dedication to this role. The amount of training and choreography that would have gone into this would have taken months to develop, let alone having the fitness to do it. Also, barely any of this made it into the final fight. It was condensed down and refined, and it's really only certain moves and the ending that we actually see in the film. The Phantom Menace was important for one simple reason. The rise of Darth Jar Jar. The most evil, cunning, manipulative Sith Lord the galaxy had ever seen! I'd love to be able to tell you there's a deleted Darth Jar Jar scene, but Jar Jar is such a devious Sith Lord, he went and removed all traces of it from existence. Snuck into Skywalker Ranch and just sliced that thing open. Did you know in Revenge of the Sith's comic adaptation, before Obi-Wan leaves for Utapau to fight General Grievous, he actually stops by Padme's place to talk to her. And this scene was actually shot for the film, although the deleted scene hasn't been fully released. And this is also why Anakin suspects Padme is having an affair with Obi-Wan, and why Anakin asks Padme if Obi-Wan has been here. It also confirms that Obi-Wan knew about Padme and Anakin's marriage before he questions Padme about Anakin being the father of her baby later in the film. And he promises not to tell the Jedi Council. In my opinion, had they left this scene in, it would have made Anakin's fall to the dark side even sadder. Because Obi-Wan is willing to go to the lengths to protect his friend, his Padawan, even though he knows he's living a double life. Recently, I've been watching a lot of Clone Wars deleted scenes, and it's interesting seeing how much more they could have added to the context of certain episodes. For example, this deleted scene between Anakin and Padme is not only political, but shows their relationship. Even though they're supposed to be hiding their relationship, they're still hugging in Padme's office and showing affection towards one another. And not only that, this was supposed to be in the episode The Jedi Who Knew Too Much, where Ahsoka Tano is arrested after being accused of murder. So much happening in this episode in the Clone Wars, and I think including this scene could have shown a bit more context for Anakin's relationship with Padme, and also how he was constantly trying to protect his Padawan. I've said it before, I'd love to see a re-edit of the Clone Wars with all of these deleted scenes included and potentially finished. Did you know there's actually a much longer version of the pod race intro where almost every racer is introduced? Also, did you know Fode and Bede weren't originally animated? Pretty sure the actors who played them didn't even know they were changed into CGI characters until they saw the film. What a way to find out. Alright, so all the pod racers are getting ready. We see Ben Quaderneros frantically waving to the crowd as he's introduced. This rando in the crowd's taken one too many death sticks. Clegg Holdfast has little mumble. Now here it seems like Jar Jar is taking the spotlight away from this bird creature who definitely isn't too happy about it. Just Jar Jar working in mysterious ways.